Hello, Uta Hagen here of Trans Widow Uta Hagen YouTube channel with another lovely motherhood picture. This is kind of interesting. I thought I had stopped wearing my contacts after I had my older son because of the sleep deprivation and how dry it made my eyes, but I guess I was trying to. Now I don't have to wear them because I had cataract surgery. And I see that I was wearing this certain polka dot dress, which must have meant that I had lost the weight. I guess he was maybe 11 months old in this picture. And I am lately starting my videos with one of my motherhood pictures. Um, this video is about Stacy Sunshine, trans widow number 67. We have a little uptick in subscribers. We're up to 2,651 or 52, I think. Thank you to all the new subscribers, and thank you to my loyal stalwarts. And please do like and subscribe and share. The last one of Melanie, trans widow number 66, suddenly got a lot of views. I'm not sure where it was shared. And we had a little uptick in trolls too. And so for the trolls, I will explain once again, what does the term trans widow mean? It's not a term that I chose, and I actually tried to put forth a different term or to figure out some other term for us. But the trans widow, as a ex-wife of a man who claims that his male self is gone now, is basically our definition, and that developed many years ago before I was doing this. And for example, a woman who goes by the pseudonym Tinsel Angel from our documentary Behind the Looking Glass at Lime Soda Films YouTube channel. She has a website called transwidowsvoices.org, and my testimony there is under the name Bertina. She wanted me to take a different name from Uta Hagen. She feels she has to do a lot of pseudonyms and pen names to protect herself, because sometimes these ex-husbands want to find her and do her harm. So let's see. Let's start with Stacy. She says, I met my ex in February of 2008. He was a proud ex-veteran, Marine veteran. And they formed together a blended family. He had 3 children from previous relationships, and she had 5. And so the 5 kids were about the same age. They had 5 of them together with them about half the time, and the household was never dull. I'm reminded of a show from my childhood, The Brady Bunch. So he made a very masculine presentation, and quite frankly, he still makes a masculine presentation. Stacy was kind enough to give me his Facebook handle, and I took a little spying journey onto his page. And, it's the usual. He's a Caitlyn Jenner wannabe. Quite tall, big hands. It looks like he's quite out there, quite outgoing, so to speak. He's busy raising a lot of money for, I think, the fire department and the police department of Palm Springs, California. And Stacy gave me permission to, mention the location. She said that there is quite a cluster of men who have done this after being married for years. And so there's therefore a cluster of trans widows. And so I'm hoping that our data from the 20 questions to ask a trans widow will quickly go up to 80, 90, 100, etc. We're up to 67. Okay, so she got onto the pride team at her work, and she says, I had no idea how this would change my life in ways I never dreamed. She thought she was, doing something charitable. Okay, and she asked him if he wanted to volunteer with her at a red dress event, which the red dress events are charity fundraisers for, I think, breast cancer research. I think it's for female cancers. Anyway, he said he would love to go along and he would need to have her come out shopping with him so that he could dress up because he said, I'm a go big or go home kind of a guy. So I think you get the picture. She spent 4 years in sort of a purgatory, just as I spent 2.5 years in my purgatory, where I kind of knew that this behavior had at least happened in the past. He, in my case, promised that he wouldn't do it. It sounds like with Stacy's ex that he, went right along and never detransitioned or anything. Okay, was this cross-dressing a revelation or your discovery? So I would say it's sort of a revelation because it started with this red dress event, but he wanted to wear her lingerie, so he's revealing it. It's not like she found a stash of something or letters or diaries like I did. And after that red dress up that he did, he asked if she was okay with him wearing more so-called gender-neutral clothing. And then escalation question is number 2. She says it escalated out of control very quickly. He was coming out, and I was trying to be supportive as he, in quotes, found himself. How wrong I was. Before I knew it, I had a badly behaving teenage girl making demands on me that my own children wouldn't have dared to make. And I want to mention that this whole, second adolescence thing is something that Nettie's therapist brought up. She called it a second adolescence, and that's what I should expect. And I wasn't brave enough to say to her, I have 2 little kids. They're going to go through adolescence one day, in 8 years or so, and I can't have another adult in the household behaving like an adolescent. So, yeah, did he select a therapist? The only reason he went to therapy was to start hormones. So, yes, he selected a therapist. And the rest of the question is, did he or the therapist claim that he's in a lesbian relationship? The answer is yes, it was him. It sounds like she only went to a couple of appointments. I went to the first or second visit, she says, and that was a disaster as I was the bad guy in the relationship and I needed to figure it out and get on board and stop complaining. He continued to tell me we now had a lesbian relationship, and I kept informing him I didn't want one. I wanted a real man. Did he put money in a secret account? He had long taken full control of all the money. This is classic narcissism. While I worked full-time, and he allegedly worked every other week out of town. At some point, I was fully cut from access to his financials and my own. I don't know the details on that. If you're watching this, Stacy, and can put some of that into the comments, please do. He had no problem spending money on all the things. He was attempting to keep me from shining while he wanted to have me teach him all I possibly could on how for him to be a better woman. So ironic, as now I wasn't good enough. And that was drilled into her repeatedly from the beginning, and yet she needed to help him do all the things. Yeah. Did he wear your clothing or makeup? Yes, everything of mine was fair game, especially, excuse me, if it was a favorite. He was enough larger than I that he stretched things out or otherwise destroyed them, so I no longer could wear them. My nice handbags and scarves were favorites after he'd taken all my lingerie or anything the least bit sexy that he could fit. With the makeup, he had to leave the most expensive stuff. He had to have the most expensive stuff that was suggested at the counter. Of course, because it's going to make you pass better. It takes a lot more to do that job for him than it does for me. So the sex role play question was, did he suggest or coerce or cajole? He did. He started with the sex toys, then coercing me into including other people. Oy, oy, oy. Then that went into role play and strap-ons and other more domination types of toys. This is straight out of pornography. And deprivation and depreciation types of play. I think she means like humiliation. I hated this type of thing, never felt good to me. I would try to explain this, sometimes breaking down in tears. And then, of course, it would be twisted into me being selfish. And I'm saying to myself, this is while some children are in the house, even if they're asleep. Children wake up with a fever or a bad dream. In the end, my lack of participation, excitement, was shamed. That I was going to just unalive his new persona. And did I want the mean guy to come back? Serious mental illness issues. I would actually like more details on that. Because most of us know that when the dude goes on estrogen, he starts to have manic episodes. The psychologist and endocrinologist pretend that they can just put their head in the sand and we wives are supposed to handle it. And just think this was about 4 years that she's dealing with this. She had also experienced deaths before she was able to get out of her brother and father. And he was actually, this is her husband, was actually playing with an untold number of others and filming sissy porn from back at the beginning of this, after the red dress episode. Wow. Did a therapist suggest any of the above? It doesn't sound like it. Boy, I've got my pages really mixed up. Okay. He had been into pornography viewing since childhood. So it looks like, he already was being groomed by the hypnosissy porn. There's a new episode on Stephanie Wynn, Stephanie with a Phie, Wynn, Winn, YouTube channel, and a detransitioner who fortunately didn't take estrogen for very long. And he's now talking about somatic therapy and doing, he's kind of like a breathing and mindfulness guru, I guess. And he said that actually the sissy porn is abusive. It's bullying. And it insults the presumably male viewer who's watching it. I hadn't known those details. Did he defame or vilify you in, social media or other places? He would post his sob stories about how much he loved me and couldn't understand why I would leave him, and poor him. And so did he claim to a therapist or a group of friends that you abused him verbally or physically? She says, not to my knowledge, but I think that's sort of a hazy gray area because he was putting all this stuff where he's dissing her on social media. Did he attack you physically? This is question 10. He threw a glass into the wall and it brushed against her face as it went by. He held her just hard enough not to leave marks. This is very similar to one of our other trans widows who said that he would squeeze her until she voided on herself. Suddenly this incident happened in November of 2020. She was coming back from a weekend out of town with friends, and there was something, he was angry that he thought that she didn't come back early enough, and she didn't get the car back soon enough, and she had to go take it herself. He wasn't going to go with the car that he presumably has and drive her back. It took her an hour to get a ride home, and then he locked her out. And then when she banged on the door, he uh, pushed himself out of the house, locked the door behind him, didn't allow her back into her home, which is, I think, actually illegal. He was holding her arm or the back of her neck just hard enough to control her and not hard enough to leave marks. After 3 hours of being walked around the neighborhood when he was verbally assaulting her, and this is also physical assault. This is physical assault and menacing. She says, I finally got away long enough to check my bag for a sweater. So she made up an excuse that she had to go check her bag. She got this is a crazy story. She had to spend 72 hours in jail at the end of this. So he attacked her again after she got her key, and she kneed him in the groin and called 911. And she admitted this when the law enforcement came. And at that time in California, it was a hate crime. So she spent 72 hours locked up, part of the time with a trans man, that is a woman who identifies as male, who wouldn't shut up about wanting to be with the men. Oh my goodness. Then they released who and to him, to the husband. And then, comes question 11, did he force unwanted sex with you? And she said, not really, but it sounds, he's bigger than her. He did this physical assault. Really, I have a hard time. I'm finding that in the trans widow's replies, there is this hazy gray area about whether the sex role play veered into sexual assault. She was unable to leave due to money. So yes, she lived sort of below the poverty line. She had to rely on family to help. And she has experienced being on assistance, on government assistance. And, she, I guess, had to move out of a very nice house and live under much more circumscribed circumstances. She had advice from clerical marital advice, and every religious person she went to for advice was be the good wife. And he wasn't letting her go to therapy. Wow. Talk about ritual manipulation and coercive control. This is pretty outrageous. Did anyone, the therapist or a friend or family, suggest you are obligated to share Mother's Day? It was only him that did this. And it sounds like a lot of the children are grown up now, and they are not having any of this. And it's come to the point where they're not taking grandchildren to see him. No individual therapy where she was supposed to call him a female. Did you lose a set of friends? Yes, when he came out and when the relationship ended. And mostly her, in quotes, friends were other trans or cross-dressers. He's driven most of the other friends, like just his behavior, so outrageous, drove away a lot of their previous friends. He did, yes, to question 17, he started self-identifying as mother. And the kids rolled their eyes, trying to be supportive, but at the same time watching much of what was going on and not buying it. And the thing about suggesting some kind of mother, female name, she said she doesn't remember exactly what, but he was playing with the idea of what the grandchildren are going to call him, so he's not going by grandpa, apparently. Okay, nobody said that her rejection of him caused him to do this. It sounds like it was already pretty full-blown by the time she left. Now, this is another kind of gray area. I feel like I should add menstrual symptoms to does the husband co-opt your experience of childbirth? Now, this guy wasn't there. She had children before this relationship and none with him. Um, but he didn't use anything about what he had heard about her labor experiences giving birth. Um, but he used other female experiences. He was unable to use the labor and birth one. He co-opted period and then menopause symptoms. Okay. Oh, his father had sexually assaulted him at least once, but probably way more than that. Oh, yeah. And his mother caught it, but she didn't kick the guy out, apparently. Both parents beat the crap out of him. Sorry for my language. That's what she wrote. We don't know if his sister was also sexually assaulted. Oh, and the sister has a child who identifies as trans also. I think this is all, California. He holds a lot more animosity towards his mother. And I do think that that kind of experience in childhood and the subconscious trying to go back and have a do-over has to do with his identifying this way. But see, he had been abused and humiliated in childhood. And so the hypnosissy porn, which is abusive and humiliating to its viewers, is sort of like giving him a do-over where he's submitting to this. It's quite strange. His oldest son will not allow his children to meet them. And I guess this guy came out. He made it all about him when the son and the son's wife were on a Zoom to introduce their new baby. And he tells them, oh, there's a new me and you need to call me this. Okay. Well, that is the window into experience of Trans Widow number 67. Thank you, Stacy. And everyone, go out and get your walk. Come back to your centered mind-body state after listening to all this woo and nonsense. And I think I'm going to see if the snow that got crusty is skiable with the cross-country skis, because we did get a few inches. We had kind of a winter storm. I'm starting to call this a real winter. I'll let you know the next time. Do take care and do come back.